All right, we're live. Things give me attitude again. In any case, welcome in. We'll get this thing started in a minute. Talking some music stuff here and some juicy political talk later on. This thing pointed in a way that everybody's happy. How's this working? Friday Live. Channel. View rentals channel. I'll get the hang of this. I can do this. All right. Let's see what's going on. Thank you. There we go. Sound off. Close that. Click copy. Paste Ernie. Post Ernie. All right. Done all I can do. The rest is up to you. Welcome in, welcome in. All right, the word is out. Someone's got notifications, so I'm glad you came. Yeah, tonight we got some vinyl reveal. Still haven't figured out how to convince my phone to do it in horizontal mode, so you're getting a vertical stream again. So people on the phones are gonna enjoy this. People on PC, hi Joshua, welcome. So number of new subscribers this week. Rushi, do I know? Never heard of that. Please, Rashi, please explain. What is Sakuna? Maybe I do know that, but I'm guessing I don't. If I need you to explain it. Anyways, I'm just setting up like it normally takes me 20 minutes. Normally I'm starting 15 minutes late, but you guys saw this on the community post earlier. So this is part of not a massive haul, but we got some vinyl this week, and I'll just flip through these, see if you guys want to give me a thumbs up or thumbs down on my picks. Let me know how I did. These are all in very good shape. And at the end of this, we'll have a little contest. You guys can guess how much I paid for all this. A jar full of farts. All right, but whatever. Come on in. Trolls welcome. The policy in this chat is if there's bullies and trolls, just troll them back. I'm the lone moderator here, so if I'm tolerating it, then the chatters can just fight it out amongst themselves. We'll just put it in the category of YouTube blood sports. So yeah, you got some weird stuff. Mike Kane, yes, I'm glad you showed up. I got a question for you, an engineer question later on. Hope you know a little bit about electrical engineering. So, welcome, welcome. Grab your coffees, grab your tea, grab your whiskey sours or whatever it is you're drinking. I got everything here. I got coffee in front of me. I got kombucha. I got other beverages here. Some dihydrogen monoxide. It's all good to go. So, all right, there's a few of you watching, so we'll get going with the musical portion of this broadcast, webcast, international epic cast, whatever. And then later on, depending on how long this takes, I got some stuff to say about local politics and yeah, a few pints in you. Well, that's all right. It's not a trick question, but I'll reveal. Hopefully, you can stay up till the end, and I can ask you. But anyways, let's get down to the records reveal. Actually, no. While Mike is still hasn't passed out. I secured another phonograph player. It's a very cheap one, but it's meant to be used with a, I guess, a Sanyo stereo system. That the power source plugs into either the receiver or the amp or something like that. And in any case, the power source is 12 volts and 0.1 amps or 100 milliamps. Hi Jody, welcome on in. I'm going to be talking music for the first little while here. And so I don't have a transformer that's 12 volts, 100 amps or 100 milliamps. So I was going to take a 12 volt 1 amp transformer, which I have, and then stick a resistor in line to get me my 12 volts direct current. And if I put 120 ohm resistor in line, it should give me my 0.1 amps. Is this going to work? Because what I did to test, I got a bank of 12 AA batteries, which are 1.5 volts a piece, and plugged it in. And so the turntable works. And so I could have a battery powered turntable. But I'm thinking if I've got this wall transformer that plugs into the wall, 120 volt, 120 or 115 volt, and the output is 12 volts, I should be able to get the amperage down by putting a resistor in line. True or not true? I await your answer. If not, I'll figure it out. I'll go maybe find a used transformer that's the right capacity. I just don't want to overload the circuitry in the record player here and blow something up if there's some internal fuses or who knows what. I don't want to put too much amperage through it. But I think that should work. So maybe I don't need an electrical engineer, maybe just an electrician. But by Ohm's law, that should work. If V is equal to, or if the voltage is equal to the amperage times the resistance, then that should get the job done. But in any case, for the few of you watching, I had made the community post that there were some records I got my greasy little hands on. And maybe a note too, I had shared this on the last live stream. If you need to get my attention, because I'm going to ignore the chat maybe as we go through these albums and then kind of catch up with the chat once we get to the end. It could get a little too chaotic if we go album by album, and I got all night, so we can go as late as we want. It doesn't really matter. But on the last live stream, or maybe the one before, I pointed out to get my attention in the chat, you just type the letter, or not the letter, the symbol at in front of my name, just like I posted in the chat there. And then when it comes up in my chat stream, it'll be bright orange. You'll, for instance, well, I mean, Jody possibly knows this, but I'll just tag Jody. Well, let's make sure she's still watching. I'll tag Jody. If you type the first few letters of her name, there's a little avatar with her name that pops up at the chat bar, and then you type your message, and then Jody should see my message to her in bright orange on her chat stream or on her phone, wherever. And so that's a way to get my attention, because if it's all just chat going by, I might miss chats, but if it's highlighted in orange, it'll catch my attention. The other thing I was going to share, if you want to type out a longer message to me. Oh, Greg's come to help out. Okay. Well, let me finish this thought. I've got Facebook Messenger on my phone, so if anybody's on Facebook, like I don't use Facebook for posting anything, I just use it for Marketplace. But I do have Messenger, so if you wanted to type me a longer message, it'll come through on Messenger, and then we could chat that way. So, did you know you could do that, Jody? I don't know if there's a delay, but so we'll go back to Greg's comment. The voltage is what matters of the Walmart. I'm assuming that's autocorrect. The current of the Walmart is the max it will put out. A 1 amp will power something that only draws point. Okay, so I'm not going to blow anything up, because the way I thought it was pushing that amperage. I guess technically it's pushing the voltage. So good. Jody learned something new today. See, I'm providing a valuable service to you guys. So I should be looking at the camera more instead of the chat. Okay, so if I don't have to worry about frying this thing, the next live stream we can have a listening party. I'm not going to hook it all up right now, but because there's more music coming next week. But yeah, we had shared this one on the thumbnail or the community post. This, of course, is They Only Come Out at Night, an Edgar Winter group. Got Ronnie Montrose on guitars. We got Dan Hartman on bass. Chuck Ruff, of all people. I wonder if it's any relation to the Buttbone Ruffs. And, of course, Edgar Winter, the albino from Texas. And this one's got Frankenstein, Rock and Roll, Boogie Woogie, Free Ride. Awesome lineup. Do yourselves a favor, folks. If you've never seen Frankenstein live, I think that version on YouTube might be from the Midnight Special. It's got, I just had his name at the tip of my tongue. Rick Derringer on guitar and Ruff on drums. I was thinking of getting a switching power supply or an adjustable power supply. So yeah, I only need 100 milliamps. So that's 0.1 amps. So I just didn't want to overload the turntable. But if it's only going to draw what it needs, then I'm good. But check out Frankenstein Live. I believe it's a clip from the Midnight Special. And tell me in the comments if you're not blown away by that one. That's a beauty. So then another Eggy Winter, Roadwork. So this is a live album. I don't think I've heard this album in particular before. This is kind of my new music exploration. And we've frozen up. I'm getting some buffering here, so you guys might have to just bear with me. I don't know what's going on. I paid for good internet and I'm getting more crap internet. In any case, yeah, live album, double live album, and it looks like a gooder. So again, all these albums are in very nice shape. Next one, I had posted this as a thumbnail for a live stream a few days ago. This is Allman Brothers, Eat a Peach. This one's got some beauties on it. I know a bit about Allman Brothers, but starting to enjoy them more and more. I got Live at the Fillmore on CD I picked up last summer, last fall, last summer. So looking forward to that one. A buddy of mine is looking for that one as well. So I might end up just giving him this copy once I'm done with it. Here's another groovy one that you may recognize. This one I had years and years ago. Yes, I did have it on album. Everyone knows this one. Jim Steinman and Mr. Meat Loaf. Mr. Meat. They should have a first name Meat. So I mean, enough said, but the copy I used to have was in very bad shape. It looks like somebody left it on a radiator or something. This one, I forget which. This one has even got the Epic label. It's not the best. And this is a Canadian. Probably not worth any monies, but it looks like it's playable, listenable. Get back in there, you skelly. Are we still alive? Is this thing buffering like a bat out of hell or what? Alright, it's not cooperating, so I'll just set it here. I found some proggy stuff. Well, the stereo system would take probably 112, and then there's probably a transformer inside the receiver or the amp that puts 12 volt DC to the turntable, because I mean, there's no motors in there that need much voltage, so it basically could run on battery power. So it's the motors in there are tiny. So the transformer, like I got a wall transformer, and I would just twist the wires together and plug it into the wall, because I don't have the original power supply from the whole system. Like it doesn't have its own independent power supply. I have to violate CSA and Underwriters laboratory regulation and turn this into a non-conforming appliance, and in order to hear my music. But in any case, this one is also a score. Looks like we're buffering again. I do not know what's going on. My apologies, folks. if this is too choppy. But this is Yes Songs. It's a triple live album. And I mean, everybody's heard Roundabout. That's their kind of big signature hit. And I'm not terribly familiar with their catalog, but this was a very good price. So I figured I'd give it a chance. And it's in very decent shape. What else we got? Oh, we got Brother Johnny. Edgar's brother, Johnny Winter. So this one is called Still Alive and Well. Looks like there's a bunch of cover tunes on here. Oh, there's more hidden stuff inside. In any case, starting to get into the Winter Boys. Found lots of stuff on YouTube as far as documentaries, you know, how they started out and just the talent. The talent of some of these guys blows me away. And then more. John Dawson Winter III, although that's not the accent they would say it. Again, all these vinyls are in very good shape, so feel free to yell out if you see something. Yeah, I can give you the model number just for your interest there, Greg. I'll hold up the serial number in the back. It's a Sanyo. It cost me $7. If it doesn't work, I'm not too heartbroken. I don't know if you're gonna see that. So it has the power input. I don't know if you're even seeing this the right way, but it's Sanyo model number TP670. And the power source that would be coming out of the stereo monitor, receiver, amplifier, wherever, is DC 12 volts, 100 milliamps. So that's all that this is powered by. Pretty low voltage, you know, car battery voltage, and just a trickle of amperage. So if it's gonna draw quite nicely with the 12 volt 1 amp transformer, I'll plug it in, and if it smokes, so what? It cost me $7. More Johnny. This one is called Saints and Sinners. We'll have to get familiar with all this stuff. This is produced by Rick Derringer. Don't know that I recognize any of the tunes per se, but I do recognize the freaky looking guy on the cover. Yeah, we got that. I thought I saw another Johnny. No, I guess that's it. We got this fellow here, The Smoker You Drink, and well, I guess yeah, it's being funny. You flip it around and it's upside down. Ha ha. Good one. And then the gatefold is vertical. So all right, this is a mind bender already. I picked these up on Tuesday. I haven't even had time to really look through these. That's nothing there. So this one, what's on this one? We got Rocky Mountain Way is on here. I like his hits, but I've been looking at some of the reviews of some of his other stuff, and like some of his albums are really highly rated as far as, you know, the sound and the groove. And Oh, needle is no good. That's a all-in-one unit, so use any 12 foot. Yeah. So I guess the question is, how do I know what a good needle is? No, it wouldn't be battery powered, but like I say, the power source is from the unit. It is an all-in-one type thing. Oh yeah. So then we got the James Gang live. Walk away. Again, looking at some of the things that were said about this album. It's supposed to be really good, rockin' live album. So we'll see about that. I need a magnifying lens and need my eyes checked. All right, let's see if we put some of these in order here. Forget the order. I think it was the order. So we found some Emerson, Lake and Palmer. So this is another band that I kind of rediscovered from watching Andy Edwards. So started checking out some of the YouTube stuff, and there's a really good sound. I never really appreciated Keith Emerson's keyboard abilities, but then you kind of see the performance, the live performances, and start hearing the effects. It's like nobody's playing music like this anymore, man. So this is their debut album, and Emerson, Lake and Palmer were Palmer. Clean used vinyl with soap and water. Good tip. But these guys were formed as a supergroup. Like, what was Keith Emerson with King Crimson? I don't know all my prog bands, but this one's this one's got the hit "Lucky Man" that everyone's heard, and so I look forward to giving that a listen. I don't know if I have these in order. I forget if this was their next album. Pictures from an exhibition. Pictures at an exhibition. It's got some kind of wild foldy stuff going on here. The Great Gates of Kiev. Yeah, a bunch of tunes that I don't know if I'm familiar with any of these, but say I like their sound, and these records were available and a really good price. Yeah, it's a good. The Cotillion label. But that looks like a Canadian pressing, so not worth much monies, but it's okay. Windex good, plain water better than nothing. Oh yeah, yeah. The YouTube University is always only a click away. All right, so we chased away most of the non-music people. Maybe they'll be back later. Okay, I think this one is next in their catalog. So Trilogy, got a copy of that. This one is Again, the cotillion label. Oh, this is like a New York press. Yeah, super proggy artwork on the gatefold and whatnot. So it'll be interesting. This one, people say this is kind of their premiere album. But then there's this. So this is kind of a main staple of prog fans. You know the Tarkus Delio. This is again a cotillion release. Very nice shape. Give that a listen to one day. Permastat, no good. I wouldn't even know what to look for. So and then brain salad surgery. So I kind of got all the ELP I need. Yeah, I ain't spending $1,200 on a setup. That's not gonna happen. Well, anything could happen, but I don't know that I'm going to be spending so much time listening to music. It could be. And then one last one. This is a kind of interesting one, but here we go. Slayed Alive. It's from 1972. And I remember not too long ago, Andy Edwards was raving about Slade. And I knew a little bit of some of the stuff they had released in the early 80s. You know, Take Your Hands Off My Power Supply. I got that on tape, cassette tape of all things. But then I went back and listened to Slade Alive on YouTube. And what a show. I mean, Noddy Holder. I mean, he looks like a crazy person. I mean, they all look a little bit out of their head. And yeah, I was looking at Marketplace earlier today for turntables. I didn't look on Kijiji as of yet. Nobody really uses Kijiji around here anymore. And the ones that do, they want more than retail or new price for all their used junk. So yeah, I'm looking at the used route, but I've kind of been just seeing what I can pick up at auctions. You can get super cheap, but it's a crapshoot because you typically buy it online, uninspected, and so you get what you get. And I don't know if you guys saw these other ones I picked up last weekend. Just run around to this side. On a previous live stream. So I'm in the process of replenishing my record collection, which years ago I had given away all my records to a buddy, so I just didn't have, moving around from place to place, I didn't have time to drag stuff around. Oh yeah, so there's another Edgar and Johnny Winter. These are all cartoons together again. That looks like it has some potential, so that's going to be a new listen. And then Ted Nugent, Free for All. These were at a toy show my buddy wanted me to go to last weekend, and there was one of the vendors selling some records, so these were I think $10 each. 10? No, $5 each. I think that's a deal. Hunting vintage, yeah, like I'm kind of revisiting this as a hobby, so I kind of have the time and the ability to pursue this, but I guess you can really go fairly deep and involved, and I like cheap and quick and dirty. So, but I believe in quality too, so I don't want to be buying and using junk. But I say I'm not opposed to taking chances at auction items if it's going to cost me just pocket change. If it weighs less than 20 pounds, don't buy it. Okay, good to know. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. So I should buy it by the pound. I'll offer them 5 cents an ounce, I guess, for their equipment. Throw that turntable out. Junk. Yeah, quite possibly. Well, maybe I could sell it. Somebody will buy it. I'll make $1 off it or something. So yeah, that's my record haul for this week. So aside from these last two that I paid $5 for, you saw all this stuff I picked up. What do you guys think I paid for all this? Any guesses? I didn't even, what, like 20 albums here? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15 albums, and some are doubles or triple albums. Obviously not an audiophile. Used to be $1 a watt for amps, now it's $10 a watt. Yeah, I see people are asking a good price for quality stuff, and that totally makes sense. It's just I don't know how deep I'm gonna go with this record collecting. I'm just doing it for fun, and so if I can get them to spin on a turntable and make noise that I recognize as music, I'd be happy. So, but yeah, I'll keep looking for a good setup. Yeah, Greg B. This last comment, Jensen Imperial, like none of that. I don't even know what any of that hardly means. Like I can be a techie and at some things, but with music equipment, I never bothered to learn about that stuff. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. A couple $100 is within my budget, or what I feel I ought to be spending at this point. I'm not too concerned about having the best setup available. So it's a work in progress. Like I say, it's even just the hunt for some of these albums and finding these titles. That's part of the fun as well. But anyways, yeah, for those 15 albums, those double albums, oh, no insult at all. Costed. Yeah, I see people have vintage audio available, and I guess they know what they got because you could see it's reflected in the price. So we'll get there. We'll get the right setup. We'll make some music pretty soon. I'd like to do some listening party kind of stuff because I'm not monetized and we can check out some of this stuff together. But yeah, that whole haul there was $90 Canadian. So I think I got a pretty smoking good deal. The guy I bought from, he's got some 17,000 albums. I forget, it was 17,000 titles, I guess, that he's selling on Facebook Marketplace here in Winnipeg. So he's got a lot of junk, but he buys whole collections. He said he just bought a 1,500 title collection, and so I placed another order with him, and so that'll be picking up next week. I think it's about the same size as far as total number of titles, 15, 16, somewhere around there. But I'm looking forward to that. So that'll be happening early this week or sometime after. It might even have time to head there this weekend. We'll see. Paid for half my new car in audio sales. Yeah, I guess if that's your thing, like if you know how to spot value and you can flip that kind of stuff, that could be like a hustle, most certainly. You find your interest, you find a niche, and you just milk it. You know, I was doing that with a lot of auction items I was finding that were equipment related. You know, you'd find something with a small engine on it, and it needed a carburetor or carb cleaning, or you needed a battery or something just to get it running, and you turn around, flip your purchase, make a few $100, you know, like flat. So I guess the key to doing that is you got to know what stuff is worth. You got to know what people are willing to pay, because you could always get a deal, but if nobody's willing to pay for what you're asking in the end, you know, you either got to lower your price or, you know, come down to what the market. Well, I've got it all documented. As long as YouTube doesn't cancel my channel, I'm good. So just reading the chat. So learning in real time. Yep, absolutely. Well, it's more like you're convincing me in real time. Like it starts with weight. So it's got to be minimum like 7% of my body weight. 15%. The heavier the better. Yeah, well, I'll keep that rule of thumb in mind. That's good to know. Because yeah, you pay for junk, you get junk. Well, my thing is finding a piece of junk, polishing that turd, and turning around and selling it for, you know, increasing its value. You know, adding my mechanical voodoo and transforming it from a piece of shit into something that somebody's actually going to be able to use and enjoy. So there's been lots of items like that, and it's fun. I like the troubleshooting, that kind of stuff. What's new? Can't polish a turd. Well, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. I mean, when it comes to turntables, that's quite possibly not happening. But I've found some real nasty items and been able to transform them. Sometimes you just find something that needs a good power washing and pressure wash it. Instant facelift. So in any case, where are we at here? A sip of coffee. I haven't been watching Andy Edwards much lately. It's been a very busy month. Well, we're only a few days into April, but the last month just seems like it flew by. And so I'm only catching every not even every other uh, uh, broadcast that he does. Still finding some of his content interesting. Some of it I just don't have time to click on. Any music? Better than no music. I've got an old set of speakers that I kind of inherited from my parents, so they're just kind of from some system that we had back in the day. They're old. I guess they could be almost considered vintage. Definitely nothing special. They're called Digital Fidelity. Looks like it's rated up to 150 watts. Digital Fidelity. So yeah, it's not a name that I would recognize. Maybe they're going to be useful. I don't know. Digital Fidelity up to 100 watt, 150 watt rated. Nothing special. Yeah, I think they're still in pretty good shape. Like they haven't been stored outside or anything. They're always at the right humidity and temperature, so shouldn't be any issues with those. But I'll give them a once over. But yeah, there's plenty of equipment, not used equipment out there. Like people are listening on their devices now or their earbuds, and I'm just not that interested in that. I can't walk around with my phone all day. Just listen to a playlist. Like some of these albums, you're not listening to one song. You're listening to the entire album. That's the way I've always liked doing it. You get a feel for that album, and it's like a whole experience. So. The old pinch test, eh? No, it's all very nice and supple. Feels like rubber. What's this? There's a label here. It's got overload protection circuit. Okay, whatever. That was just falling off. It's nothing. But yeah, we'll get the turntable situation figured out, and then yeah, it's like I want to listen to these on the right kind of system, not with these things jammed in my ears. With Naughty Halder shrieking, you definitely don't want those in your ears. Now, having said that, we got the music crowd engaged here. Like, what kind of musical taste are you guys into? Is it the hard rock? Is it the jazz fusion? Or I think you both came over. At least the two in the chat were from Andy Edwards' channel. What should I be listening to? I'm open to suggestions as far as new music. I've been sharing some of my musical influences and preferences, and then I was actually, well, it might be up already. Let's see here. I was trying to upload a video I shot earlier this week, and uh, I shot it using this gimbal device that I got last week. And what I had to do was download the gimbal app to the iPhone, and then you're shooting and recording through that app, and then you can upload straight to YouTube from that app, but it never uploaded. So I ended up I recorded the video on Monday or something like that, and then I ended up having to re-record it today because I just couldn't upload it. YouTube refused to take it, or the app for the gimbal refused to upload. Like it just stalled out. And on the YouTube Studio website, or the app on YouTube, it just puked and refused to do anything. And so now there must be something slow with my internet, because this stream is buffering. Well, it's also because I'm uploading a video I reshot today. It's still uploading. I thought it would have been uploaded hours before this live stream. And Prague Fusion, anything but religious music. Streamlabs. Yeah, I wanted to get my equipment figured out before going to Streamlabs. That I am going to be using that eventually, but it was just, I forget which day, Tuesday or Wednesday. Maybe Tuesday, I figured out how to stream from my phone, which is what we're doing now. And I prefer to do it horizontally, but it's only seeming to let me use the vertical orientation, so we'll do that. But I'll have to figure out, because I've been trying to get my Windows computer to be able to stream, and with this webcam that I got, but the iPhone camera quality is much better than anything I've got for cameras on either my MacBook Air or this 1080p. And I don't know what the quality is on this live stream. Yeah, that was one thing I was supposed to look for, is the setting on the camera. No buffering on your end? Okay, well, I seem to be getting glitches and stalling on my end, so maybe YouTube is fixing that as it goes on out into the universe and then arrives in your device. That's what I was doing. Starting off in horizontal, selecting horizontal, and it just refused to let me shoot in horizontal. So, so whatever. I'll play around with that some more. I thought I had it figured out, but apparently not. I guess quick poll too. Are you guys watching on desktop, laptop, or phone? Because just the nature of this channel, I'm not necessarily catering to the young crowd that watches predominantly on their phones. Just YouTube it, yeah. Yeah, I guess so. Ask YouTube how to use YouTube. You're on an Android phone. See, I watch my YouTube on my Mac because the quality is good and it's handy for typing. And depending on what I'm watching, it's sort of not stuff that I can just listen to. You know, there's some live streams that you can just sit and listen to, have it playing in the background. I guess another question for you guys. I just found out this today too. I was watching a live stream, and people were commenting that all they watch are live streams. They don't watch videos of any kind. Just that's their preference, is to watch all live streams. And I commented, I watch both. Sometimes I like a live stream if it's something I can keep coming back to and there's a good community there. But I've also got my creators that are doing videos, and I check in and watch, you know, as often as they upload, pretty much. And so I'm just curious, like, I didn't know there were people that just watched live streams. I thought that was kind of odd, but I mean, it's not wrong, but just odd. Yeah, I did a whole video on the DIY realm of YouTube and how that inspired me to become a YouTuber. It's sort of, there's probably room for lots more channels to be sharing how-tos and tool reviews and that kind of stuff. And so I did a whole video on that. Actually, a couple that were kind of similar. One was like a homesteading content, where a lot of the homesteader channels that I watched back in the day were very instructive as far as, you know, how to construct a timber frame house. Or, you know, it's not that I built a timber frame house on my own, but just seeing the process and all that stuff. And then the mechanic videos, you know, all manner of automotive repairs are available just with a couple of search prompts and a click, and you're fixing your car, man, or you're fixing your buddy's car, or whatever. Mr. Carlson's Labs. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff out there, and so I still watch videos that people upload as standalone videos, and I intend to upload standalone videos. A lot of my videos are somewhat of a continuous conversation. There's a thread or a theme that is carrying through this sort of stream of consciousness type of content. And I can go in several directions. Like there's a potential to do some homesteading directed content, whether on this channel as, you know, one part of it, or start up a new channel. So good night, Greg. Thanks for coming. I'll heed your advice as far as equipment, and possibly be able to invest some of my lazily earned money and find some good equipment. So in any case, what was I saying? Yeah, just the idea that people tune into YouTube just to watch live streams is, it's like, I find that engaging, and I hope people are finding this engaging. I do notice that people do come check out the video after the fact, you know, after the live stream is done, which is fine, but it just seems odd to me that that's all you would watch is live streams. To each his own. To each his own. But in any case, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit as well about, Mike was here. I kind of introduced you to the situation going on with Lane Myers down in Arizona. And it's kind of looking more and more that the law is going to catch up with him. And I'm going to go about this today kind of from a side channel approach, and not talk directly about Lane Myers' case, but just sort of some of the things I see in general terms. And like Lane has, like personally as a person, this idea in his mind that if you're following the letter of the law, you're not going to get in trouble. and it's very black and white. You know, you open the book, you read the law. The law says this. As long as you do what the law says not to do, you're good. And that's not what's happening, or at least that's not how the law actually works. And I did a little kind of discussion about this a couple of weeks ago, in how the law written on paper is a three-dimensional entity. You know, I had done a video a month or two ago about my experience with YouTube lawyers and YouTube law experts, and it takes you down this rabbit hole of the sovereign citizen movement and the free man on the land kind of thing, and the jailhouse lawyer, or the DIY approach to law. And there's a lot of pitfalls there. And so I kind of named names as the people that I've followed over the years, and nobody's really been able to produce results as far as how to engage in the lawfare that the system engages in. And it comes down to the theory of law versus the practice of law, or the application of law. And so the ink on paper, that's a three-dimensional entity, you know, that, and the freemen on the land, sovereign citizens, will say, well, no, that's a corporate fiction. That's the two-dimensional world, and I'm a three-dimensional being, and so I'm a man, and this is talking about a person, and all this kind of mumbo jumbo that the court doesn't even recognize when you start spouting off this babble. And up here in Canada, we have essentially case law that explains quite clearly in Meads versus Meads that when you got a litigant that starts spouting off on this weirdo stuff, oh, what's the matter? You shows up right on time. You missed the record haul. You're gonna have to go back, start over, watch from the beginning at 2x speed, and then catch up. We'll still be going here. But in any case, the freemen on the land or the sovereign citizens would say, well, that's a 2D corporate fiction, and well, no, the paper has a thickness, so it's got a length and a width and a thickness, so that's three dimensions. Even the ink on the paper, even if it's several microns thick, it still has a thickness. That's three-dimensional. It's when you get into 4 dimensions and higher dimensions, you know, when you add time and human imagination and creativity, like all these upper level dimensions, that's where the practice of law, or the practical application of law, takes place. Those letters on paper, that is a 3D expression of what behavior and conduct we expect in our society, wherever that may be. And so I think there's this belief in the Western world, at least in Canada and the US, the UK, Australia, you know, the legal systems that have been derived from the British common law, that the system operates in a certain way. As long as you don't do anything wrong, you have nothing to worry about, right? And at some point, I don't know when exactly, that's been corrupted, where the law is being used against the citizenry to accomplish some ends that is not in our best interest. And so, yeah, have a seat down front here, Wasimata, and we can engage in the discussion. And so, like, where am I going with this? But it's sort of like we as citizens, for lack of a better term, and people will complain, oh, you don't want to be a citizen, you want to be a sovereign, or you don't want to be, you know, citizen is a slave title. And, okay. But we've got to use words to be able to communicate with each other. So I'm just going to use citizen for the time being, because people generally know that they're it's a good descriptor of who or what you are. but George Carlin, he got it right. Is there is a club and you're not in it, and so rather than try to take on the members of that club head on, it's almost the strategy needs to be a sidewise attack, and that's what I saw what Lane Myers was doing in a way. He was able to, on paper, through motions and spell casting, be able to uh, engage in that lawfare, engage in the battle head on. But there was a side channel attack where he was using YouTube to publicly make people aware of what was going on. He was exposing the system. And I think that's a genius tactic. Uh, and the it kind of stirred me to see the potentials in social media and using the internet to broadcast, to make public things that are in the public. And this is government employees, public servants, public employees, whatever capacity. They were always doing things under cover of, this shroud of not secrecy, but uh, they were doing everything behind closed doors, and the public wasn't aware. We were assuming they were behaving in such and such a way, but in actuality, they were behaving in a way that was not in the citizens' best interest. And so, what arose is like this First Amendment audit community that is showing how badly public officials are behaving, whether it's mayors or sheriff's departments or, any number of things, governors, there is corruption out there. Like if you don't think it's there, you're just a little naive. And so I'm kind of at an age where I don't care what anybody thinks anymore. I'm gonna say what I think, and if it offends you, well, you're gonna be waiting a long time for an apology, because that's like, we're done with woke. We're done with polite. We're just gonna tell it like it is. And so that side channel attack that Lane Myers was engaging in is brilliant, but you gotta keep it up. And so at some point he disengaged from that sidewise. I guess that he was forced to, because they brought him back into having to do the head on, standing before the black robe tyrant and explaining himself. And when the average person is doing that, it's like they have every advantage, because you don't know the rules the way they do. And just before this, I was watching a lawyer video speaking on Lane's case, and it's like, without a lawyer who has experience how to get evidence into the court, on the record, like, Lane doesn't have any evidence on the record that he's used. He's got a flash drive that's been identified, but none of the exhibits, none of the pieces of evidence are actually in the court record, as far as I know at this point. So that's potentially a problem, and so, an experienced lawyer would have been able to help him out with that. So I don't know what Parvin is doing. Again, I don't want to comment too much on the case. I'm not a lawyer, but hearing other lawyers weigh in is like, it makes me realize the head-on attack. You're really at a disadvantage if you're representing yourself, unless you've got years and years and years of experience, and not too many people do that are acting in a pro se or pro per capacity. And now, having said that, Lane's been doing a 10 times better job than most any of us could do. Most certainly myself. Like, I'm not trying to put him down. This is the critical thing now is to help him get out of jail by any means necessary. But it kind of occurred to me this week, and I've been wanting to talk about this for a while, is that I think your average person, and not in a legal person sense, like a corporation or what have you, birth certificate, legal fiction person, But the idea that most people go through life thinking everybody thinks the same way they do, that they process the same way they do, and it's simply not true. And I picked up this book, some time ago. I think I ordered it from his website. But this is a Canadian author, William Gardner, and the book is called The Great Divide. Why Liberals and Conservatives Will Never Ever Agree. And the title kind of tells it all, but I'll give you some background on Bill Gardner. He was like an Olympic level marathon runner, I believe. I think he was like a long distance runner and like competing at upper levels. And he was active civically, like he had run for office. I believe he was from Alberta, if memory serves. I should have done some sharpen up my memory on his story, but he had been running for election. And he was a businessman. He's currently retired. I mean, he's got to be in his 80s now, but I think back in the 1980s, he was running for political office, and you're catching Andy's political indoctrination there. Some of his stuff is interesting. Andy's very much a normie in that sense, and I'm kind of black-pilled to the idea that there's any hope for Western civilization anymore, or democracies in general. So I haven't believed in democracy in quite some time, and being in Canada, we are by any measure a banana republic and have been for quite a long time. But in this book, it's so Bill Gardner had been running for some political office. I forget what, whether it was the local level or provincial politics or even federal. It doesn't matter. But he was treated the same way Ron Paul has been treated. All the populist candidates over the last, recent memory. There was even that. Up here in Canada, we had the Reform Party with Preston Manning back in the, I guess, early 90s. And they started to get some traction. They were winning some seats in Parliament. And they eventually got subsumed by the progressive communists. the progressive conservative, kind of the conservatives of old amalgamated with the Reform Party and became the PCs for a good number of decades. And now we've got the Conservative Party of Canada. It's undergone several transformations depending on how the culture shifts over time. But by all intents and purposes, the Conservative Party in Canada is just as left of center as the Liberals of the 1980s and 1990s are. So we don't really have a conservative option up here in Canada, but I don't vote anyway. It's just seeing the trends of how political ideologies change over time, and the shift has been ever towards the left here in Canada, whereas in the States it seems like there's a pendulum shift towards the right and Trumpism. I'm not saying that's bad, but in any case, people on the right, they have different approaches on how the world actually works. And it's diametrically opposed to how people on the left think. And in this book, I'll just read through the items, or the themes that divide is what he calls it, on how the left and the right view. And what it comes down to is a worldview. And if you're not familiar with that term, it's basically how you see the world. And, I've said in other videos, I've got a Christian or biblical worldview that I filter a lot of my understanding through. But I've also got a technical scientific worldview. I've got my own particularities of how I view the world, and individuals typically do. But the worldview of the left and the worldview of the right, whether you think in terms of liberals or conservatives, it's so drastically different. And so I'll just read through these themes that the differences are so profoundly different that it actually affects how our culture and society functions. But there's differences on how human nature is viewed. The left typically views, has the Jean-Jacques Rousseau view that we're basically all born virtuous and righteous. It's just our rearing and our environment is what's keeping us down. And so if we just make a utopia, everyone will be able to express their humanity to the best of their, and if we collectively come together and provide the correct environment and only the correct environment, that is what will cause humanity to flourish. Whereas people on the right think of individualism and individual merit, a meritocracy, that if we're going to us, teach our children well, that kind of thing. But how the left and right values reason, or how they think on reason, on democracy, on freedom, on equality and inequality, on morality and the self, on the triumph of the will, on God and religion. And so he goes through this book, and he's not the only one who's written on these kind of themes, but he's got a good writing style that's very readable. So, and he's got some YouTube content up there too. You can go look at some of his interviews or lectures. Was he ever a professor? I'm just reading. An academic. He taught at York University. He's got a doctorate in literature, some other high degrees. Very interesting guy. And he's got other titles too. I think I bought this right off his website. He was doing blogs or vlogs as of last year. I haven't... Yo, man. Hey, Mr. Osgood. Welcome on in. Let's just catch up with the chat, take a little breather, take a sip of coffee. And yeah, I agree with you. Without hope, you have nothing. And so I'm not without hope. I'm just black-pilled. I vacillate between black-pilled and white-pilled. But you got to stay away from the hopium, which is, Trump's going to save us all, or Trump's going to destroy us all, or Trudeau's going to save us all, or Trudeau's, or if we just get rid of Trudeau, everything will be better. And that's not the case. Like the clown that we got in the driver's seat right now. Oh my goodness. We have an election coming up in less than a month. Election in a banana republic is kind of a nonsensical concept anyway. It's our elections haven't been legit for I don't know how long. I laugh, but I kind of feel like I'm an outside observer to our own destruction here. And that's kind of the part of the sidewise attack, is to not be enthralled in the trouble, but to exist above it or away from it. And so you can see the forest from the trees. If you're stuck in the middle of the forest, all you see are tree trunks. But if you can somehow get above, the plane of view and see the landscape for what it is, it all starts making sense, because the people in control, the people that are in the club, they're drawing a map of reality for you. And you either believe it or disbelieve it. And just in my experience over my lifetime, I've come to see that map is just a bunch of phony baloney BS. You're on your own. Don't expect the government to save you. Yeah. Whereas it kind of comes down to statism versus what I believe is more leaning toward anarchism, and it's anarchism doesn't mean no rules, but no rulers. It, I mean, and this is a biblical theme, like the the knowledge of God or knowledge of what is good and right, how to live rightly, ought to be in every person, so that they are self-governing. Uh, and so that's kind of a theme that's regarding here. He doesn't. I don't think he goes into very much religious treatment or even. I forget his background. It's been kind of a while since I've read his stuff, but uh, like he doesn't approach it from the idea that I'm coming from a religious standpoint, and you need to adhere to some religion. That's it's much more not secular per se, but it's more neutral in how he treats these subjects. So you're left up to your own to decide how you're going to take this information and apply it. You guys seem to be dipping here. Oh, maybe I did set it up like that. In any case, yeah. So people don't think the same, and this is what Lane Myers has run into, because he thought he was doing everything right, but the people that he's in a controversy with, they looked at his actions and said he's an evil man. He needs to be locked away in prison, and he even went so far as to not a I don't know if it was an apology, but after one of the hearings with the victim in the what do they call it? The injunction against harassment. He kind of reached out and said, this is not about shaming you or attacking you. He was under the belief that he was expressing his constitutional rights, whether it was First Amendment or what have you, to do what he was doing. And he saw nothing wrong with what he was doing, whereas this female victim interpreted it completely differently. And I mean, that's another great demarcation, not just left and right, but women and men think, behave, talk, carry themselves differently just by our nature. And so it's a lot of times it's the age old argument, is it nature or is it nurture? And by nature I mean genetic. Is it something that's passed down from your parents, something you have no power over? Or is it nurture, which is environmental, how you were raised, the advantages or disadvantages you face? Did you grow up poor? Did you grow up privileged? I find studies like this, especially in psychology and in biology as well, they often do twin studies where they get sets of twins and they do different observations on, well, how come these two twins raised in the same family, one turned out to be an alcoholic and the other one never touched alcohol in their life? And they look at the difference. The twin studies are very powerful in that you can make inferences. And there's all. I just used that one example, but there's a multitude. And then they have studies where twins were raised apart, and they look at how their similarities, whether it's their brain chemistry or whether they're left-handed, right-handed, how they develop. And so there's some things that it really seems it comes down to nature, which is genetic. Other is nurture. How the environmental stimulus affects how people develop, how they develop their thinking, how they come to view the world. And so I find that fascinating. But I'm also a realist, and I understand as people think differently from me, and that's your prerogative. I mean, do so at your own risk. But I never assume that people are thinking similarly to me. So when you engage in conversation, you find out, what do we have in common? What do we have that's different? do I need to compromise and come towards you and what you understand, or is it to your advantage to come over to the way I think and see things from a different perspective? So it's not that anyone has a perfectly right or wrong perspective or way of thinking, but uh, Lane right now is embroiled in this legal battle in which he thought he was doing the right thing. He thought he was being virtuous and he wasn't breaking any laws, but someone else reinterpreted it. And again, that someone else was a woman, and I don't know what influences were on her as far as uh, again getting into conspiratorial ideas like are they wanting to put Lane away and make an example of him, or is there a literal uh, imminent fear for life and limb? You know, their very safety depends on keeping him behind bars when all he's ever done was make phone calls and emails or leave phone messages, voicemails and emails and stream on YouTube. Like, I don't know. People on the left will think, yeah, put him away for life. People on the right are like, he didn't do anything. I look at that and I'm not placing myself in the category of the right, but when it comes to basic justice, I don't see that what he's done merits no bond. You know, he's being held without bond until this is settled, and then grand jury indictments, aggravated harassment, which he could face 9 to 25 years in prison or life. Like, it boggles the mind for YouTubing. You know, for YouTubing and leaving communications electronically by phone and email. like what is this? Like, that's, I'm laughing, but it's like we've got to be able to come at this from a different angle. And like another book, you'll hear me mention on this channel too. I have a real hate on for the boomers, and I guess the reason is here in Canada we had a baby boom post World War II, and it happened in most Western countries as well, in Europe, in Australia, in the United States. But up here in Canada, the baby boom generation was vastly larger than their cohorts around the world as far as percentage of our population. And so they were the dominant demographic for a good many years, even to this day. Like, just the last of the baby boomers, which would have been born, you know, early to mid 60s, they're just now kind of reaching retirement age. And then I'm Gen X, which came behind them. Like, we kind of got, in many ways, the short end of things as far as opportunities, but learn to make our own opportunities. And, you know, no hard feelings over that. But back in the 90s, there's this book called Boom, Bust, and Echo. And in it, okay, is my phone going crazy? It discusses the, okay, stop it. It describes the baby boom generation, the bust generation, which was my generation, in that we kind of were busted on the rocks, and then the echo generation. So that would be the baby boomers, the Gen Xers, and then what we would call the millennials, and you probably lump the Generation Z group in there as well, and now Generation Alpha, that's the group that was born from 2010 till this current year, and we're on Generation Beta, being those babies will be born this year. And so the different generations think differently. Like, my generation has a completely different worldview than the boomers did. There have been updates and revisions over the years. Yes, I would like to mute this. All right. Nothing important, but somebody thinks it's very important to let me know this at 10 o'clock on a Friday, 10:30 on a Friday night. Oh my goodness. Sorry, guys. And so yeah, that difference in thinking, differences in worldview, like Generation Alpha, they basically hate anybody that's not from their generation. Like they're just unrelatable to pretty much anybody, and I think that's great in a way. It could also be potentially hazardous, but I'm just looking at the chat here. Plus about it, you says I'm hopeless. I'm okay with that. Um, uh, Being optimistic, yeah, I got to stir myself up to be optimistic because I know there are solutions, but I don't see anybody that's really attacking it from the right direction. It's like we're typically brainwashed to think we'll vote our way out of this. You know, we'll just vote harder next time, and that never seems to work. And so, you know, there's options out there, and you know, I have my good days and bad days as far as being optimistic versus completely despondent that it's never going to change. So it doesn't matter which of the two criminals offered end up being selected. Things will never get anything but worse because they're both owned by the villains who are the main problem, the Fed. Until we um, we'll either end up completely enslaved or an authoritarian nightmare, or we'll just fall apart. And yeah, so I've been doing content about authoritarianism. There's going to be more how to resist it or how to break out of the programmings. Their biggest weapon is mind control, keeping you unable to think your way out of things, to think there is no hope. And I think there are options. Uh, and so Lane Myers was doing it, and I saw the potential for doing this. Whether it was First Amendment auditors that were streaming live on Facebook or straight on YouTube live. Like once it's up to the cloud, you know the whether you're doing a cop watch or government watch, they can't take your device and erase the footage. Like that evidence exists forever, and so there's real power in that. So a lot of these tools that they've put in our hands to enslave us can actually be used as weapons against them. So yes, is this a tracking device? You know that eventually is going to result in the technocracy rising to the point that we're helpless to resist? Maybe, or maybe we can switch them on and do a live stream, come together, and strategize on what needs to be done. Like I've been saying since I started this channel, like YouTube is opening wide its doors to start up, and you know they're making it easier to monetize. I think that's a bit of a trap. I think they want to get you in, and a lot of this has to do with data mining, obviously, but a lot of it is just advertising. It's just about money. They want their ads in front of as many people as possible. And so whether it's Elon Musk with X that wants to make X the place to access the internet, or Zuckerberg with Facebook or whatever they call it, Meta, you know, they want your eyeballs on that screen watching ads so they can sell you more stuff. And it's kind of pathetic when, you know, we've got the most powerful tool known in human history for communication and increasing our knowledge, increasing the ability to discover and collaborate and do all these things, that they just want to sell you more crap from Amazon or Alibaba or whatever, you know. And so that's kind of the joke's on us if we're consuming all this ad based content, It's like I'm not motivated to monetize this channel because that puts me at a disadvantage. I'm kind of uh, uh, I'm part of that system where I have to bow to massa and do what massa says. But if I'm not monetized, that allows me the freedom. It doesn't allow me a big audience because the algorithm is not going to pick me up if uh, if I'm not saying what the algorithm wants to get uh, my content in front of other people. But I'm okay with that. I'm willing to not have to deal with that or to take that sacrifice because that's not what this channel is about. It's about reaching people, possibly indoctrinating them, possibly starting my own cult. I don't know. It's there's all kinds of potential. Thanks for coming, Mike. This is I'll do a Sunday stream. I don't know if it's morning or evening, but yeah, I'll try to at least do a weekly stream on Sunday and possibly more. I don't know if I have it in me to do daily streams or whether people. We'll see how it goes, but yeah, the point of this channel is to start to mount that sideways attack and not the head-on attack, because at some point you got to stop and assess what you're doing and realize it's not working and then reconfigure. Like you gotta be smart about this. Like these people have been making their enslavement system for years and years and years, if not decades and centuries. Most certainly decades. Like I think a major shift came after World War II, at least on the North American continent, or the Western alliances. But in the last couple of decades, like things have really ramped up. The rise of the security state, the push towards the technate, the technocracy, and so it's interesting times. And like I say, we've got tools available to us. If we just use them in a way that's to our advantage, we can start to get some stuff done. And so there's people out there that are thinking along these lines. Like Wasamata says, in bold letters, exactly. That's what I've been trying to say. So yeah, I'm in agreement. So we got to kind of get on the same page, but that's hard to do with independent-minded thinkers. Trying to get them to come together because by nature they're independent, and I get that. So it's not that everybody needs to come to this channel or I need to direct people to one cent. When it becomes centralized, that's the warning sign that you're taking the wrong approach. It needs to be multiple nodes in a network that is fluid and agile and able to shift its tactics and shift its ability to adapt to changing conditions, because the establishment it's virtually impossible to turn that gigantic ship around very quickly. And it seems like the establishment is trying to turn things on a dime, and the whole vessel is starting to break up. That ship is going to break apart. Like I can see the stress fractures already. And so it's just a matter of changing our mindset. For me, it's been a change of mindset to start to embrace this technology, to start to realize anonymity and privacy in the internet age is kind of a myth that was predicted. In this, it was predicted by others. Harry Dent, I forget the names of his books, but he's an economist in the United States. He's got some interesting books that were written around the turn of the century at in the late 90s, early 2000s, that were saying this shift that's going to come societally and culturally as a result of the technology growing by leaps and bounds, the computer age, the internet age. And so it's like once you abandon the idea that you need to be anonymous and all this, like even the idea of doxing online, like that's not going to be a thing in a few years. Like everybody, it takes nothing, literally nothing, to find a person. You just need a couple of bits of data to triangulate where a person is and what they're all about. And so this idea of anonymity and privacy, like that's going to be a thing of the past. And I don't like hearing that. I like to think I can protect my identity, my privacy, but at a certain point, that's just it's not going to be a possibility anymore. So it's like I gave up trying to do that. Like I'm broadcasting. I'm on the internet with my real name. I don't post my picture on my avatar because I think that dog, that grinning troll dog avatar is much funnier than having a picture of this as my avatar. But I use my name. I'm not trying to protect my identity. I mean, there's certain things that I don't necessarily put my address out for people to show up or order pizzas to my house or whatever. But I'm not worried about that. Like at some point, the realization is going to come for everybody that privacy is non-existent at this point. I don't know that there's a way to avoid that or get back to, unless you go like right off grid and complete self-reliance and solar panel and basically living under a rock. But that's not exactly how I want to live. And so it's learning how to navigate the treacherous seas that we're on, because there is a battle afoot. A lot of people are still asleep. I've said this on other streams. The American Revolution was 5% really of the colonists made the decision that they were going to do what needed to be done. And so it's not like you need the majority on your side. A minority of people can make a difference and make drastic shifts to the status quo, whatever that may be. I guess what the status quo is, and helping them understand that the status quo is not working in their favor and that it needs to be changed. And so whether it's central banking or the Fed or the enslavement through the legal system and justice system, or the culture war, the things we don't want, all manner of topics I've touched on this channel previously, and we'll talk about it more in the future. But with the Lane Meyer situation, he was on the right track, but then he got sucked back into facing the beast head on. And the Bible calls it a beast system, Babylon. And without getting into overtly religious themes, it's like, if you want to think of it in that way, that beast is there to devour you. The system that has been created, it's meant to chew you up and spit you out and have no regard for your well-being. It's to maintain its own self, its own power. It's almost become an entity, the institutionalization of society and these establishment organizational institutions, for lack of without sounding too redundant. But I guess the true black pilling is when you feel that you're powerless against it, and I don't ever think I'll get to that point. I get discouraged that we're not making progress as quickly as I'd like, but it takes time. That's just the reality of it. Some ideas and innovations can change things around fast, but say the government and the way it's structured, even an idea is not going to flip things around. The government moves at a very slow rate. And when they're doing something at a very quick rate, you can know it's going to mean trouble for everybody. And this has kind of been my rule of thumb for probably the last 10, 15, 20 years, is if the government wants me to do something, it's a good bet you should be doing the exact opposite. So whether it comes to climate change, you know, get electric vehicles because the government is, no, do the exact opposite. If you can't find a gas internal combustion engine, find a diesel. If you can't find a diesel, get a coal burning vehicle and drive that. Like, if the government wants you to be politically correct, well, and not use hate speech, well, we need to double down and start using the most offensive language we can think of and broadcast it far and wide. Because if the government wants you doing it, it's not in your best interest. That's just been my experience. You're free to try to come on here and convince me, change my mind about that, but I think the track record of government, you look historically through any time frame, you'll see that you have to agree with what I'm saying here. So, but then there's a whole other segment of society that would say, Brent, you're crazy. No, you always have to do what the government says. Don't you know they're only there to help you and make life better for all of us? It's like, no, I don't believe that for 1 second. So, is Lane still being held then? Yes. From what I understand, I'll just maybe go to your questions if anybody else is watching still. There's only a small crowd here. But hop on into the chat if you're watching. It's always more fun to be a chatter than a lurker. But Lane had hearings last week, or was it earlier this week? I think it was last week where they decided there was going to be a pleading conference, or you know, where he could possibly plea bargain his way out of this. I think that's scheduled for the 15th, which is not this coming week, but the following week. So I guess just before Good Friday. And so I guess if a plea deal is struck, then he could potentially feel free, be let go. All right, tell Chili I said hi. Maybe I'll see you over there in a little bit. But as far as I know, if Lane goes to hearing, he's going to be in jail right up until the hearing. And then if he's found guilty at the hearing, you know, at trial, I guess it's up to the judge to determine his fate at that point. So yeah, not a good situation. And so I don't have answers as to what he needs to do at this point. I would say do whatever you can to get out of jail. Like, that would be my advice. I don't know. Yeah, plea out of what? He did nothing. Exactly. And so Lane is the kind of guy on principle. He's going to say plea. No, if I plead guilty, well, then they're going to come after all my YouTube people and then start pressing charges against everybody who's ever sent an email or whoever has posted any content, and call that harassment. So it's sort of like I've been seeing that this Arizona situation is like they're almost trying to set a precedent, trying to set up some case law to come after electronic communication in a way like they haven't been able to before, and basically do an end run around the constitutional rights and start banning what most of us would consider First Amendment right, freedom of the press. You know, even if it's not freedom of speech, it's Lane covering his own story and making it public as a matter of public interest. So, yeah, this is where we're at. And I've said before, if this goes through, I mean, in this one case, and there's been others, whether it's Craig Henry or, you know, very similar situation in Indiana. But here in Canada, we're trying to get, there's a bill that's been proposed. It hasn't been approved yet, called the Online Harms Bill, that would prevent me from even posting content that's anti-government, that doesn't conform to the current narrative. You know, if you're talking about chemtrails or climate change, you know, you're going to get canceled. And that's a scary thought for lovers of freedom and people that believe that the democratic system is right and that our justice system is just. Like, it just boggles the mind. But if a decision in Arizona goes through that Lane Myers is found guilty and serves prison for any amount of time for felony harassment, for leaving emails, posting content, which nobody forced anybody to click on any content as far as I know. Like, it's your decision to ignore or look at content on the internet. Is they're basically wanting to take his internet privileges away. And if they could do it to Lane, they could do it to any one of us. So if this Arizona finding is that he's guilty, I mean, that leapfrogs over what's going on in the UK with banning speech there. It leapfrogs over us here in Canada. It leapfrogs over what they're doing in China as far as what people can say. Well, maybe not China. That's pretty extreme. But yeah, a decision like that. I mean, we've got some hokey decisions coming down from our justices here in Canada. And like just even today, I think there was a ruling on Tamara Litch and Chris Barber, who were the organizers of that truck rally, the Freedom Rally back during COVID days, where you couldn't even say the word COVID without having a warning on your video, your YouTube video, and maybe that's still the case, but yeah, they were found guilty of mischief. So I don't know if there's sentencing that's available, but all those people that were involved with charges during the Freedom Convoy, they were all found guilty. I guess there's always appeals, and Lane can always appeal in Arizona no matter what happens, but I think they want him to plead out, and plead guilty on these charges and either get let free or time served or who knows what. It's none of my business. Lane's got to do what Lane's got to do. I've said he doesn't owe me anything. He doesn't owe any of his viewers anything. He doesn't owe America anything. It's Lane that's got to look at himself in the mirror at the end of the day. So he's got to do what's right for Lane. And if that means plea bargain, if it means fight till the bitter end, if it means spend the next 20, I don't have the answer. Lane does. So I don't really want to offer advice there, other than, you know, if I've said if Lane makes it clear that he wants us to be doing something on his behalf or for him or as a result of this, make it known, and I'll, to the best of my ability, follow through on what can be done. So again, I don't have the answers, and I wasn't streaming tonight to provide any answers, but other than to suggest, like, we can come about this from and get results, because they're not looking for attacks from that side flank. And so if enough get on YouTube and start making content like this, putting the word out, making public what's going on, exposing the corruption or exposing the injustice, exposing whatever you feel needs, the public needs to know about. Like, that's the way to come at this beast system. So I think I've kind of rambled on. This isn't the final word on this by any means. People don't think alike, and there is a great divide in place, and I believe it's possible to overcome that divide, because this is one of their tactics. I think the ruling class, the elite, the people that are in the club, which isn't us. You know, if you're watching this, you're not in the club. And if you're in the club and you're watching this, well, by all means, please tell me, how do I get in the Illuminati? How do I get in your club? Because I'd like to tear it apart from the inside if I could. You know, trying to dismantle it from the outside is a tough enough job. But yeah, I'd like to get into your hallowed halls and bring about its destruction from the inside. So if there's somebody there that can get me in the Illuminati or what have you, send me a comment or send me an email. My email's on the homepage of my channel. But what they oh, hi Simba. What the elites know is that we are divided, that we don't think alike, and they use that against us. They pit the left against the right, knowing that we can't agree on certain things, and they make those the talking points. They make those the issues, whether it's abortion, or right to life, or whether it's free speech, or whether it's racism, or climate change, or the environment. Pick any one thing. They make that the headline and the things we fight over, when we should be focusing our attention on the problem, which is them. And so it's really a psyop. They know the psychology. They know that people think different, and I'm trying to pull the curtain back and show people that this is the game. This is how they're gaming the system in their favor. Is they play us against one another because they know we're not going to come together over matters we disagree with, and we'll fight to the bitter end to prove who's right or who's wrong, and we'll exhaust ourselves in the process. We'll never come to a resolution, and they'll, in the end, provide us with their solution, which is no solution at all. It's the Hegelian dialectic, which moves the Overton window, and by Overton window, that's kind of the zeitgeist of the day, which we'll talk about certain things, within these parameters, but the people who define the parameters are the ones in the club. And when you talk about things outside those parameters, you're either an extremist or a radical, or you need to be locked away, or you're neurodivergent, or they'll label you, they'll other you, they'll non-person you, and so this is how they do it. They get the left working against the right working against the left. The Trump tards against the MAGA. The game. Like I don't have to use example after example. And hey, Mr. Osgood, welcome in. Welcome to the chat. It's a matter of understanding the game, understanding that there's a work, to use a professional wrestling phrase. Like, the guys in the ring know the work, and you're the mark. Sitting in the audience, you're the mark. And so the elites, they know the game they're going to play against us, and we're the mark, and we believe that what's going on in the ring why is my phone not charging now? Might have to cut this short. I don't know if am I plugged in? Let me just check my power supply here. For some reason, I can't see my battery now. I don't know if this thing's charging. We'll see. If it dies, the stream is over. You'll know what happened. It wasn't YouTube canceling me or whatever. I'll see if they cancel me over this. More raw milk, fresh from my cow. So. Again, in Canada, they'll put you away for a long time if you don't know how to handle that substance the right way. And by the right way, I mean the way the dairy cartel tells you to. It's all politics, folks. And so yeah, we can't run for office and make change that way. I mean, I've heard Chile De Castro talk about this strategy. They're not going to let a change agent in that's going to disrupt their system. Like that's not the way it works. So there's options I don't want to share right now that, I mean, you might be able to infer, but I think there's enough means and tools that we can employ to get some results. And by results, I mean finding ways to publicly shame officials that are guilty of misconduct, of corruption, of breaking the law, of being hypocrites, of shaming them publicly on YouTube, Facebook. Like it's been going on for a time. And what I've been saying about Generation Alpha, which are, the 15-year-olds of today, people born between 2010 and 2015, they've never known a life without social media. They grew up with a Facebook page. Their parents started Facebook pages for them before they were even born. And they've never known a life without social media. And so they've weaponized social media currently. They're the TikTok crowd. They live on social media, and when they come into their own and see stuff they don't like they are going to use that weapon of social media to get done what they need to get done. And I don't think the boomers or my generation or the millennials or the Zers, I don't know if they're ready for that drastic change that's about to come. Because Generation Alpha, they're poised to make a big splash. Like they're gonna be the big dog pretty soon. They're gonna be adults in the next 5 years, and it could get real weird real quick in that sense as far as changing the culture. And my phone is kind of acting up. I don't know if we're still operating on battery power or core power. We'll see how much longer we go. I'll just keep talking until the stream dies or until it doesn't make sense anymore. But the ability for us, my generation, the Gen Xers, we're in our late 40s, early 50s, early 60s by now. We kind of have a perspective or an ability to jump on social media now and not be the lame boomer Facebook idiots that just go on there and stir up fights and trouble. Like we can take these platforms and use them to transform. Platforms to transform. That'll be the new catchphrase. No, that sucks. Don't repeat that. Don't tell anybody I said that. That's lame. But you get what I'm saying? Like we can. It's not just Gen Xers. If there's any millennials out there that still have a pair, or Gen Zers that aren't scared of their own shadow, by all means, start speaking up. What have you got to lose at this point? But the Gen Xers, we're at an age where we don't care what anybody thinks at this point. We're gonna say what's on our mind, and we have the time and the ability, even some resource, to not have to focus on our living situation, our family situation. We've got some time to do a YouTube channel as a hobby in your spare time, or do uploads to Twitter, or whatever your preferred platform is. Mine is YouTube, because YouTube has given me the most value over the years. And I get it. They're data mining. They're using my ability to post content to make money without paying me any money. But it's not about the money. To me, the money is a bit of a lure to get you under, or to get you on a leash. And Lane, on his channel, Lane Meyer's channel for nonviolent social change, he was never on that leash. It was just full retardation from from the time he started until, you know, the live stream was over. Just off the chain, off the wall. Uh, if any of you have had the pleasure of watching those, I know, recognize some of the names in the chat. You're familiar with the Lane Myers phenomenon, the Lane Myers effect, and you know, you don't have to be Lane Myers. You don't have to be. You don't have to copy anybody. Just get out there and be you. Like, that's what I'm doing because it's easy at this point. They're making it so easy to start up and do this. It takes a little bit of a learning curve to get comfortable doing it, but this is accessible to anybody. And so wherever you are, you can reach people all around the world. Like, that's what I'm doing. Like, Simba, you're in Australia. I don't know where Mr. Osgood is from. Osgood, yeah. What's the matter? And Mike, that was here earlier, they're in California, of all places. Or no, they're on the West Coast. What's the matter is not in California, but he's on the West Coast. Others, they're from all over the place. I mean, my music content, people are still watching my Andy Edwards video, and I'm still getting new subscribers almost every day from a video I did like a month ago, and a lot of his viewers are from Europe and England. So that's pretty exciting. Like, we didn't have access to this when I was 20 years old, but now that I'm in my 50s, like, this is neat to be able to connect with people all over the place, that you're finding your tribe, you're finding your community, that you're vibing together, something resonates, you share things in common, you have similar preferences and likes and beliefs, and together you can get this synergistic energy flowing out there. And yeah, I think there's the potential to make some change just by of this, and the more we do it, the better we get at it, and that's when the results come. Like, it takes, like, it's the biblical agricultural paradigm. Like, you have to plant the seed in fertile soil, and then, you know, the water and the sun's love shining down on it makes that shoot come out of the seed pod, and then the shoot develops the root, and then, you know, starts to gather the nutrients out of the soil. And it's a process. And that shoot becomes a stem, and that stem puts out leaf, and that leaf will make a bud, and that bud will turn into a flower, and that flower will fruit, and then that fruit produces seeds, and those seeds get planted, and there's multiplication. Like, that's how this works. It's always been in my mind. It has to be from the ground up. And the paradigm in place is top down. The government authoritarian technocratic system is top down, centralized. And that's not how nature works. I don't think that's how humanity is meant to work. But there's like a political stronghold, a political strongman, if you will. It's two different worlds colliding. You know, the natural agricultural paradigm versus the autocratic technocratic paradigm. And so yeah, I think we'll wind it down there. I was wanting to ask a couple of guys before they left, like, are you guys into long live streams like this? Sometimes I have my limit, or I sometimes wonder, like, people, are they into like 2 hour live streams on topics like this? Like, I'll watch live streams, and I'll keep going as long as it makes sense to. But if people want more of this, I could do more live streams. But I don't know. I kind of have my doubts that people are that into this. You know, if 3 people are, then that's fine. I would do this with no people. Just if people want to come watch afterwards. But even just as a testimony, as this is what I really think, and so I'm putting it out there into the universe. If somebody comes watches this later on, even 6 months from now, a year from now, I'll leave this stuff up, as long as YouTube is willing to to leave it up on their platform. I'm not taking these videos down. I I want to create a controversy. I want to start a discussion. I want to keep the conversation going. And YouTube is being kind and generous enough to allow that to happen. So as long as they're keeping the door open, I'm going to walk through it. So with that, I think the chat is kind of slowed down. Seek up if you have any questions. Otherwise, I think we're going to kind of wind this down. 2 hours. Yeah. Thanks for coming. Thanks for staying if you're still here. Comment, like, tell me what more you want, what less you want to see. I can cater live streams to that. I have all kinds of, video content that in the back of my mind, I'll be putting out more video content, standalone content, but live streams, it's up to us to create the conversation. So I'm carrying the conversation right now. In the future, as I develop my skill with streaming, I want to bring in the StreamYard, or is it Streamlabs? I do panel discussions and whatnot. So that'll be coming one piece at a time. I had enough on my mind, and this content today was about showing off my new record haul. And so there'll be another live stream once I pick up my new records next week. If you missed the record haul from earlier, just go back to the beginning. It was about the first 45 minutes or so. We were talking about audio equipment and this stack of records from, I think all of it's from the some of it from the late 60s, but most of it from the early to mid 70s. Some really good stuff in there. I'm not going to go through it again. You'll have to go back and watch at the beginning of this live stream. Some really good stuff there, and more good records coming. And I'll do that probably middle of next week, depending on when I actually pick up that next haul. And yeah, I want to make this fun for all of us. I can sit here and talk at a camera and respond to the comments, but there's the opportunity to get a real dialogue going, and there's people in this space that are doing some things I really like. Like an example of that sidewise attack is James Freeman, Grande Johnson, employee of Buddy Bow Enterprises, or whoever he says he's working for. Just getting in the face of government workers and behaving just the way they behave towards us. And it drives them out of their minds. And you look in their comment sections on these videos, people are cheering it on, but then you go to the frauditor channels that think James Freeman has no business going in there and harassing people while they're doing their jobs, like who's he think he is? It's like, yeah, well, who do these public officials think they are when they treat us poorly, when they talk to us rudely, when we pay for their livelihood and stand before them expecting service and they provide no service? Like, people have had enough. And so broadcasting, publicizing this poor behavior sends a real clear message to the right people that come across that. And that's powerful. And it starts the conversation in a direction that, wow, maybe we can cause some change. Maybe we can pool our energies and our ideas and direct them in a way that's going to damage the status quo, that's going to cause this governmental monolith to finally crumble. And so again, maybe that's just the hopium talking. Maybe it's just you fight because it's the right thing to do. You fight because righteousness is a real thing, and when you see injustice, it's your duty. Uh, let's continue the conversation. So, with that, I think we'll call it a night. Happy Friday to all of you. I'll be doing another live stream Sunday at some point. I'll post a community post to give an idea of when it will be on Sunday. But thank you all for coming, and I hope to see you at the next one. Have a great one, folks.